Hello, this is Lord Surtr with another Abyssal Explainer. So this time I'm gonna talk about all the different entities and the rooms that are in the Abyssal Dead Space. So there's a fair few, so let's get into it. So, of course, the predominant force in Abyssal Dead Space would be the Triglavian Collective. So there's going to be a lot of rooms with trigs in them. They're very common. So are rogue drones. They appear in a lot of rooms. So next up we have drifters and sleepers. They mix a lot. They work somewhat together. Honestly, like rogue drones and Triglavians can also be found together, specifically the frigates. Then we have some opportunists that went in there, like the Angel Cartel and the Sanchez Nation. Of course, there are rumored to be riches in the Abyss, so they dove right in. And then you have the Force of Justice, Concord and Edencom, trying to bring the Triglavians in check, mostly as a reaction due to their invasion into Empire space. So, shall we get on with the rest of the rooms? First, the Triglavian Collective. So Triglavians use a disintegrator. That means they spool up their damage output as the encounter goes on, so they do more and more damage. A way to break or reset their spool is to fly out of range or to make a miss, and they will start back from the beginning. So Triglavians deal mostly thermal and explosive damage. Best damage to deal versus trigs is explosive followed by thermal. So here we have the different names with their associated electronic warfare. So we've got ghosting, which means they do tracking and guidance disruption. Can be very annoying depending on what you're flying. Starving, always annoying. Energy neutralizing, but these guys do not do remote repair on the Vedmax and the Damavix, so they don't repair as much as the others, or at all. Then we have the tangling, which means stasis webifiers. They will just slow you down, very annoying with afterburners. Anchoring, priority when you're running a macro warp drive because they warp scramble, which means they turn off your macro warp drive, which could be catastrophic. Shining is target painting, so basically it blooms your signature. Renewing means stronger remote repairs. Blinding, sensor dampening, very annoying in Leshak rooms. Striking is a generic damage dealer, and harrowing is also a generic damage dealer. So harrowing and striking NPCs, they do fly together and they will always hit the same target. Anchoring and tangling Damavix often like to shoot your drones. So let's get into the rooms. The regular Triglavian room, which is one of the most common. Here you've got standard trig priority, so as always everything is subject to change depending on the ship and fit you are flying, as with anything in the Abyss. So in general, my first priority would be starving Damavix, so over starving Vedmax. Neutralizers, so Damavix die easily, so even if your priority is some other ones, you can usually still snipe starving Damavix very fast. Second priority would be tangling Damavix or tangling Kikimoras. Webs slow you down, make you easier to hit, easier to track. Then I would also put on the same priority, depending on whether you have a macro warp drive. You wanna kill the anchoring Damavix also. It's or tangling or anchoring in general, because they turn off your macro warp. You can safely ignore these otherwise, except when you wanna maybe safeguard your drones, because webs and scramblers love drones. Then we have the Harving Vedmak, which would be the big incoming damage in the room. Last but not least are the Ghosting Damavix and Kikimoras. If there are more than 3, these go much higher on the list. Again, depending on what you fly, a healer can get away with ignoring him for a bit longer. But if you're a Surtr, you want to take him down. And then you have the rest of the room that remains, which would be Strike, Damavix, Strike, Kikimoras, or Strike. The mixed Triglavian room with Rogue Drone frigates. So here, standard trig target priority applies. So I usually take out the Damavix first because they do remote repairs, even though the Rogue Drone frigates die very fast. So then I go for the Tesselas, the frigates, the Needles or the Lance. They do not switch target and they do kinetic and EM damage. So this is a very straightforward and easy room. There's not much you can do wrong. So let's go for the next one. The Rodiva room. So this is a Triglavian room with Rodiva's logistics and Damavix and Kikimoras. There's also a version that comes with Rogue Drone frigates. I will cover those later. Rodivas and Kikimoras kite around together, so they will always stick close to one another. So if there are of course a lot of starving Damavix, you may want to take those out if possible. So the first priority in this room is to snipe small stuff before the Rodivas get close, or to ease neutralizing or webifying or scrambling pressure, or until the Rodivas can lock on and start their remote repair spool up. Second priority, absolute priority in this room, would be the Rodivas because they are logistics. The longer they spool, the longer they repair on a target, the more they will repair. They work similar to the disintegrators, but for armor repairs. So getting rid of the Rodivas will make the room a lot easier. And last, behind those, it's a regular target priority. If there are any starving remaining, take them out first, then tangling or anchoring, then ghosting, then others. Unless some are more dangerous to you specifically. The Drukkevac Triglavian room. So this is a trig room with Drukkevacs and Damavix or Kikimoras as support. So those Drukkevacs and the Kikimoras do kite around together. This is to a large degree the same priority as a standard Triglavian room. So Kikimoras do not switch targets, and if there are a lot of starving Damavix, then of course you want to take them out first, if possible. If there's a lot of tangling Kikimoras or Damavix, take them out. It's a bit of a judgment call on this one, depending on what the support is, because it can vary wildly. I also tend to go for shining Drukkevacs over the strike Drukkevacs, for the simple reason that I don't like to be target painted. The Villa Triglavian room. So Villa means they launch swarmer drones that are weak drones, and those drones do omni damage. So the swarmer drones do go dormant when their mothership gets destroyed, so they should never ever be a priority. Villa rooms also do not remote repair, and it is much better to focus on the Damavix in this room than on the Vedmaks, for the simple reason that every ship launches 5 drones, 5 swarmer drones, and they are the brunt of the damage in this room. The Vedmaks are special, they don't do as much DPS with their disintegrators. So any ship you take out is 5 drones off the field. And add to that the fact that the Damoviks come with some annoying electronic warfare. So priority will always be Damovik over Vedmak, and within that set there would always be the same as always, starving over tangling / anchoring, over ghosting, over anything else. Swarmer drones can also switch and will attack your drones. One thing you can use here, you can use the environment to kill off the room really fast. You can just use the automata suppressor towers to take out the swarmer drones very quickly and ease the DPS. In general, this is an easy room. There is also another variation, the Kikimora Damovik room. So here there is standard Triglavian priority. Take out starving first if there are any. If there are more than 3 ghosting Kikimoras most likely, then take those out. Other than that, tangling and anchoring should also be a priority depending on macro warp drive or afterburner. And yeah, this is basically just a lot of Kikimoras usually, so do not underestimate them. They pack a punch, or the longer you let them spool, the bigger the punch. So beware. The Leshak room. So here we have the simple priority of kill starving Leshaks, then tangling. Unless there are plenty of blinding, which will kite away and make it really hard for you to lock anything. So in that case you want to be able to lock, so kill the blinding, but beware of the starving Leshaks because they do neutralize a lot. But their neutralizes fall-off starts at around 30 kilometers. The blinding and the starving are very annoying Leshaks because they kite away from you. Striking and renewing Leshaks tend to follow drone frigates around. If there are any drone frigates, don't kill them, because the Leshaks will kite around with them. The tangling Leshaks will burn towards you. This room can be absolutely brutal if you get a lot of starving Leshaks. So beware. This can be an easy room and a very hard room depending on the composition. There's also one exception of a Leshak room that only ever happens at tier 5. That would be the Dreadnought or Shipyard room. This is a single room. The exit gate is always open. So for this one, it spawns around 14-ish battleships. But don't worry, the gate is open. The origin gate is always open. Unfortunately, I cannot show you footage for this because I could not get one. I've done many runs at tier 5 and I did not get this room once. So you will know it when you see it. It is a big massive room and there's a Zernitra being built in it, so there's a massive shipyard in the center and the amount of Leshaks are a dead giveaway. So there are some special tactics on this one. The gate is open, so depending on your ship fit and your bravery, assess the types of Leshaks, and if you are in doubt whether you can make it, linger near the exit because you want to be able to jump if you're about to die. So in this one, starving is the absolute priority, then renewing and then entangling. You should be able to kite away and stay away from the entangling Leshaks. There are tactics where you can kite them around the edge of the arena and then move in behind them, quickly grab the loot and then make your way to the outside, but you gotta know that the composition will let you. You don't get caught halfway and your ship is fast enough. Because if you're far away from the gate and they catch you, it's a lot of DPS. So beware. Really fun room if you can beat it. So another group you will encounter a lot in the Abyss are the rogue drones. So here we have some electronic warfare, like the Snarecaster is a stasis webifier, Fogcaster is a tracking and guidance disruptor, a gaze dimmer means it's a sensor dampener, so targeting range and locking speed. Spotlighter is target painting, so signature increase. And then we have the two different versions of the logistics, the Field Weaver, which is remote shield repairs, and the Plate Weaver, which are remote armor repairs. On top of that, a lot of those drones will carry an extra marker of the damage type that they are dealing. So if you know your weakness, you can select and prioritize the damage type that does the most damage to you first, so you take less damage and basically you run safer. So Spark in the name means EM damage, electromagnetic damage. Ember means thermal damage. Strike means kinetic damage, and Blast is explosive damage. On top of that, the different sizes and classes can be distinguished by another part of the name, like the name is made up of several parts and each part signifies something. So pay attention to the names, they give you a lot of information in the Abyss in general. So Needle is a frigate. It is the frigate that does less DPS. These guys do around 20 DPS each. And then you have the Lance frigates, so that would be Spark Lance, Ember Lance, so on and so on. Those are stronger frigates and their DPS goes up to 50. You will see those mostly in tier 3 plus. Then we have the Grips, or the drone battle cruisers, as I often call them. They do around 200 DPS, the Tessera essentially. So Spark, Grip, Tessera, and so on. Last of the rogue drone types is the Overmind Battleship. Now this one does more and more damage the higher in the tiers you go, and in tier 5 and 6 it also webifies. So bear in mind, it does webify when you get close. These guys are battleships, they can still do those mythical wrecking shots, so beware. The Rogue Drone Frigate Room. So in this room there are some special tactics you can use. You can use the automata suppressors to kill them off faster, because they do damage in an area, like a smart bomb or a point defense. So rogue drone frigates specifically, will take damage from those, as do your drones and your missiles. But they take damage from them all together at the same time because it is area, so you can kill off entire rooms really fast. You can also use the blue clouds or the tracking pylons if you cannot manage to hit them hard enough. They work both ways as always, so priority here would be 1. Snarecasters, because you don't want to be webified, 2. Fogcasters, because you want to be able to hit them better, and 3. the drones that do your lowest resist, so Spark, Strike, Ember or Blast, and then whatever remains. Very fun to do with the Stormbringer, by the way. Rogue drone frigates with Rodivas. So this combination can also happen, where you have some Triglavian logistics coming to the aid of the rogue drones. So in this room you can kill some of the drone frigates fast before the Rodivas apply the repairs. If you have a lot of DPS to punch through, because they have very low hit points, the Rodivas shouldn't matter too much. So I would first focus on the frigates that do your lowest resist. Unless maybe webifiers like Snarecasters, but there shouldn't be much dangerous in this room. So just go for your lowest resist and then kill the Rodivas and finish up whatever remains. It's a very easy, very straightforward room. The Rogue Drone Frigate Room. So in this room there are some special tactics you can use. You can use the automata suppressors to kill them off faster, because they do damage in an area, like a smart bomb or a point defense. So rogue drone frigates specifically, will take damage from those, as do your drones and your missiles. But they take damage from them all together at the same time because of this area, so you can kill off entire rooms really, really fast. You can also use the blue clouds or the tracking pylons if you cannot manage to hit them hard enough. They work both ways as always, so priority here would be 1. Snare casters, because you don't want to be webified. 2. Fog casters, because you want to be able to hit them better. And 3. The drones that do your lowest resist, so Spark, Strike, Ember or Blast. And then whatever remains. Very fun to do with the Stormbringer, by the way. The Rogue Drone Battlecruiser room. Dreaded by any drone pilot, by any drone ship. The drone battlecruisers, the grip battlecruisers, do very little damage outside of 15 kilometers. But if you venture too close, or they catch up, they will have excellent tracking up close, so they will do very high damage. This is a room you always want to kite. The battlecruisers will not switch targets, except one. One battlecruiser will often switch to your drones. So as soon as you see a yellow box, the split second you see a yellow box, pull your drones in as soon as possible, or you will lose them. You will. It is always the same ship that hits the drones. Until that ship dies, then another one takes over. So priority here is 1. Snare caster, which are webifiers, which are of course super high priority, because if you get webbed, battlecruisers get close. They start to deal very high damage. Second, go for the grip battlecruisers that do your lowest resist. If that's EM, that will be Spark, for example. And then anything else, like the other battlecruisers with the other damage types, and it's cleanup at that point. The Abyssal Overmind. This is one of the battleship rooms. This is a rogue drone battleship. It is beefy, it has a massive amount of hit points. This is one of the rooms that will take quite some time. In here you definitely want to keep your transversal up as well, as this battleship can definitely do some wrecking stuff. The battleship, the Overmind, tends to kite away and is quite fast for a battleship. You may end up chasing it to the edge of the arena. Of course you can kite it around depending on where the ship is, because it will kite away from you. In tier 5 and 6, this thing will also webify. So the first priority here would be snare casters and spotlighters, webs and target painters, simply because it makes it easier for the battleship, for the Overmind, to hit you. Of course, then kill the Overmind and all remaining small drones. This room should be very straightforward. It does not do a lot of damage unless you fly badly. Then we have the sleeper and drifter rooms. So they often are seen working together. There's a lot of different variations here. So we have, for the Ephialtes cruisers, we have the Dissipator, the energy neutralizing version. Entangler means stasis webifier. Spearfisher is a warp scrambling Ephialtes. Confuser means tracking and guidance disruption. Obfuscator is sensor dampening. Illuminator, target painting. And a Lancer is basically generic damage, and can occasionally also go for your drones, as does the Spearfisher. And very rarely, but it happens, the Entangler. And the sleeper cruisers, the general sleepers, we have the Firewatcher, which is the frigate neutralizer. We have the Sentinel, the cruiser neutralizer. The Warden, the frigate webifier. Upholder, cruiser webifier. Preserver gives remote repairs. These guys don't have any shields, so it's always armor. Aegis and Escort are frigate generic damage. Watchman is a cruiser generic damage. Like, the sleepers do not have much different types of E-War. With sleepers and drifters, really, it is more webifying and neutralizing that are much more common. So then with the drifter cruisers, which can be the Scylla Tyrannos, we have the null charge, which is neutralizing, entanglement, stasis webifying, null warp means warp scrambling, and then we have the infamous Charybdis Tyrannos, the sleeper, no, the drifter battleship. So never go straight, but we'll explain that in the room. It does about 100 DPS at tier 1 and up to 600 DPS at tier 6. So each tier, this one does more damage and comes with more health as well. So let's get into it. The Ephialtes, Scylla, Lucid cruiser rooms. So this is a variation of the drifter sleeper room, and there are a few combinations. You can see one of them, two of them, or all three of them. This room does not do a lot of damage. There tends to be a lot of electronic warfare done. This room can span only or with a mix of the Ephialtes, the Scylla, or the Lucid ships. The priority shifts depending on what you fly. If you're not a passive tank, you want to go for the neutralizers first. There's usually a lot of them in this room. If you're an afterburner fit, you want to go for webifiers. If you're a micro water drive fit, you want to go for warp scramblers. Sometimes if there's a lot of everything, you take one out of each and you just cycle through them. If you have turrets or missiles, or use them a lot, if there are more than 3 confusers, you want to take some out as usual. Of course, it is best to judge for yourself and alternate between what's most dangerous for you, killing one of each or killing all of one. Spearfishers and entanglers also really love drones. Next up, we've got the Lucid sleeper room. So in this room, Watchmen, Aegis and Escorts guide around together. The Wardens and the Upholders can also shoot drones. Those are also the webifiers. So priority again depends on what you fly. If you're not a passive tank, you want to go for the Fire Watchers and the Sentinels, which are the neutralizers. If you're an afterburner fit, you want to go for Wardens and Upholders, which are the webifiers. So often killing one of each, if there are many of both, eases the pressure. So of course you want to kill the rest afterwards. This room does not tend to do a ton of damage, but it can be very annoying with the amount of neutralizing and webifying that comes with it. The Deep Watcher room. Now, this room is a DPS check. This one can take a very long time to clear. But this room also does very low damage output, unless, of course, you sit still. Occasionally comes with a few frigates. You can kill them on the way to the battleships with your missiles or whatever light drones you have. The Deep Watchers do not tend to move much. Usually they are stuck in the gate. They also stick together, though sometimes they can guide slowly towards the edge. Very straightforward room, just a lot of hit points to go through. Charybdis, Garen, Tyrannus. Lovingly or not so lovingly called Garen by the Abyssal community. Most important rule in this room: never fly directly towards or away from Garen, the battleship. Never lock eyes. She will win the stare down. Wrecking shots are definitely something to watch out for. They are brutal. So always keep transversal up. Approach or kite ideally at an angle of plus minus 45 degrees. Up, down, left, right. It doesn't matter as long as it's 45 degrees. Until you get real close to her. So you can slip under her guns, because she actually has bad tracking. Stay away from blue clouds. They blow up your signature, make you much easier to hit. You don't want to invite wrecking shots. This room can spawn with two variations. One is all drifter cruiser supports, the Scylla cruisers, or a version with mixed drifter Scylla cruiser support and effialties. Now the drifter cruiser version can have a lot of webifier and neutralizer pressure. The effialties versions come with more varied electronic warfare. The priority in this room will always be the webifiers and the neutralizers, depending on which one hurt you more, because webifiers slow you down, make you easier to hit. Neutralizers take away your capacitor, take away your ability to move faster, make you easier to hit indirectly. Then, of course, any other electronic warfare, like target painters, illuminators, which will only happen in the effialties room or version. So there is also another one. If there are massive amounts of confusers, you may want to take some out, because they do tracking and guidance disrupting. And that is basically the gist of this room. Just never go straight at the battleship. Kill supports on the way to the battleship or on the way from the battleship back to the gate. Try to maximize your time kiting in and out, because she will kite to the edge of the abyss, except in dark. In dark she can often be found approaching. So here we have the Angel room. Now this is a room with very high damage application. Nearly the entire room webifies, target paints or neutralizers. On top, angels are very fast, so they will catch you kiting around and then sit on top of you. The brunt of the damage in this room are the Cinnaball cruisers. They do love the kill of frigates. So this is the Hawk Killer, for example. Dremiels also love to go after drones. And here we are. The Cinnaball is the big bad damage. It is a neutralizer and a webifier. And they apply really well with their autocannons. The Elite Cinnaball is a stronger version, just more damage and neutralizing and webifying as well. You've got the Elite Dremiel, which is a webifier as well as a drone lover. You got the regular Dremiels as well, which is just plain damage. We've got the Echo, which is a webifier and a warp scrambler. The Furies are neutralizers, but they're just frigate size, they die fairly fast. The Ixion is guidance disruption and target painting. Sword Spines only do target painting, Medusas do sensor dampening. And the Burst is of course the logistics. So, in terms of target priority, I always focus if there is an elite Cinnaball, I focus it first, and I kill one to ease the incoming damage. Second, I go for all the other Cinnaballs to ease the incoming damage a bit more, and also to get webs and neutralizers off me. Then I go back and kill the other elite Cinnaballs, if there are any remaining. But whenever the opportunity presents itself, I will snipe any Fury or Echo, because they're just annoying. So then you go off and kill the elite Dremels, which also still webify, so save your drones if you have any. And then it's essentially clean up. And that's the Angel Room. Here we have the Sunshine Room. So the Devoted Knights do a lot of damage, but they have bad tracking. So they also have very annoying electronic warfare. So I would say to stay around 18 to 20 kilometers away from the Devoted Knights, to stay outside of their web range and in fall of their neutralizers. Knights, priests and hunters guide around together. So take out any fishers or trappers early and you can easily guide the room. So if you have a afterburner, you want to take out the fishers. If you have a micro warp drive, you want to take out the trappers. And why? You can see right here. The Devoted Knights or the Knights have neutralizing and webifying. They do a bunch of damage as well. Smiths are neutralizers, fishers are webifiers, trappers are the warp scramblers, heralds are tracking disruptors, tracking and guidance disruptors, I believe. Lookouts are sensor dampening, priests are remote repairs, and hunters are just damage. In terms of target priority in the room itself, my first target priority is double. A fisher, if you use an afterburner, you don't want to get webbed. A trapper, if you use a micro warp drive, again, if you don't want to get trapped, and have your micro warp drive turn off. So, second priority after those are the Devoted Knights, because they neutralize and they webify and they do a fair bit of damage. Third priority I would say are the Smiths, because of the capacitor warfare, the neutralizing. It can be a higher priority depending on numbers, as with anything in the Abyss. Heralds, they disrupt, so they make your turrets and missiles do worse. So when there are more than 3 in the room, I consider Heralds a high priority, because I'm gonna use my drones and my guns and my missiles, of course. Priests do remote repair, so always nice to take them out. Lookouts, depends on the numbers. I would say lookouts are very low priority, unless there's so many of them you cannot lock anything. Last are the hunters for me, because they are just plain damage. Again, if they're on top of you and you're dying to them, obviously kill them. Anything in the Abyss is fluid, depending on situation. So that is the Sunshine Room. The Concord Edencom Room can be a combination of Concord and Edencom, or only Concord. I have not seen only Edencom yet, except for the lower tiers. This is a very high damage room. So, speed and signature are your friends in this room. Absolutely avoid blue clouds. So, Drainer Marshals do heavy neutralizing. Arresters take away your precious speed, and markers make you easier to get hit. So, this room is about adapting to whatever is in the room, to whichever is more dangerous. In terms of electronic warfare, there is not a lot in this room. It is very straightforward. A drainer is a neutralizer. Arrester means a webifier, marker is a target painter, and any Eden.com ship will do chain lightning damage or use its photon projector to arc up to 10 targets. So don't have your drones next to your ship or they will all get hit and die. In terms of target priority, there are many variations of this room. You can have a few marshals, you can have many marshals. Same with Thunderchild. Target priority is, I would say, quite fluid. If there are marshals in the room, markers or target painters are high priority because they increase your signature big time. And marshals do a lot of missile damage, so they apply to signature. Second would be the arresters and thus the webifiers, because of course speed is your friend. You don't want to slow down, so you don't want to get webified. Third are drainers or neutralizers, again, depending on how many there are, priority can shift. You don't want to lose your capacitor, so it's a bit of judging for yourself in this room. And Eden.com, they do damage to everything in the room. That includes their own friends. So they will damage anything close to them. They will also get rid of any loot, any drones, but so you can use them to your advantage. They apply to everything, including the loot containers, so they will pop the cash for you very, very well. So I would beware if you have drones, because they arc to everything. Try to keep your drones away from your ship, so they don't arc to them, which is why often when I enter a room and there's a big fat Eden.com ship in the room, if it's far away from me, I try to launch my drones between the shots. Like, they fire, launch drones into space, send them immediately after the Eden.com ship, and they should be far enough away from my ship so they don't arc to me and my drones. They will only arc to me. So my drones can kill them in the distance while I kite away from them, so I don't lose drones. And that is the Conquered room. And here we are. Those were all the rooms. So if you watched till the end, thank you very much. And please like and subscribe. You can find me on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, of course. So I will see you in the next one. Surtr out. And don't forget to sort by type. It helps you big time.